All right, I'm Walter Cronk. I was deployed with F Company, 425th Infantry, uh, Airborne, LURS, and we deployed. We spent in country in Iraq from '04 to '05. Um, it was a good time. I mean, we got to do lots of fun stuff. A year of hanging out with the guys, in our 6-man team. It was like the Boy Scouts, but, unsupervised, I guess. But still, a blast. Got back from deployment and wasn't right. So if you see me keep looking off over here, it's because I got my notes. Wasn't right. Things were a mess. And, by a lot, like every night, still go to work, but come home and just drink every night, blackout drunk. Did that for a long time. Even to this day, like we got over there, like we all survived, like I didn't see my buddies get shot or legs blown off or, nothing crazy like that. I don't know why I came back and I was, messed up. I think part of, the only thing I can really think of is, you get back from deployment and at least, National Guard anyways, you get back and everybody scatters, so like you just get back and you're dumped off into civilian life, basically alone, which after a year of being with your buddies for every day in, day out, all that stuff, I think that was the biggest part, so of course I didn't say anything to nobody because, I was 24 years old, like I ain't gonna say nothing who's gonna understand? Little did I know there was other dudes, we found out 15 years later through, close friends or whatever that, they were going through the same stuff, so like we're, you think, or even you think you're the only one and you're not. Not everybody goes through it, but a lot do, so thinking you're alone, not a lot of civilians are going to understand, but some of your friends will. Anyways, so I knew what needed to be fixed. I knew what the issues were. Just I wasn't ready for it. Wasn't ready to deal with it, I guess. So then another deployment was coming up for another unit. Things was still a mess for me, so I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going on another deployment. Either I'm going to get fucking smoked over there, problem solved, I don't have to deal with it, or I'll fix it when I get back. And so that's what I did. I went on another deployment, got back, was still a little bit of a mess, but, I told myself either two things were going to happen. Either get whacked or get fixed. So I knew then that, it was time to start really take a long, hard look in the mirror and fix it. So, that was the first step is, you got to be aware or self-aware enough to know that this is what's got to be done and do it. And I was 24 years old, so like I know others have done it and whatever works is great. Some did group therapy, some do individual, some use, the pills that the VA gives you. I was 24 years old and stubborn. I'm like, I ain't doing that. I'll do it all on my own, which probably, looking back now, was probably a bad idea. I probably should have went the other route. I might be where I'm at now, might have happened a whole lot sooner versus doing it on my own. It took me a while, but I got there, and the next thing after, admitting that I had issues was, I had to quit drinking. Cold turkey, stop. Like I'd have buddies invite me out. Hey, you ought to come do this. Hey, you ought to come do that. And I had to basically put myself in isolation to stay away from it because I knew they'd all be drinking and have a good time. And they probably, all thought I was an asshole or just didn't want to hang out with them. And that wasn't the case. Like I knew I had to keep myself away from it until I got control of it and it didn't have control of me. Put myself in isolation, no drinking for like 2 years. And ran all the time, like 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week. I'd just run and run and run till, I don't know, till basically I was done, And that would tire me out and take my mind off everything. all that stuff. That worked, and then finally got to the point, all right, I wanted a beer, but not to get blackout drunk like what I used to, but just so I could sit back and relax. And so I started, like testing myself. After work, I'd go someplace, grab a steak dinner, have a beer, go home. And it worked. And so now, I can still do that to this day, which, works out, like I said, super good. Eventually, I'm like, all right, I'm not running no more, because it was wearing the body out and, whatever. So I'm just like, all right, I'm done. I got to find something else. So I'm like, all right, what can I do that's going to, still keep me active and learning, or, doing something besides just sitting around. For me, it was photography. Like, I didn't know anything about it. It was something that I was always interested in. I dove in head first. I mean, just full tilt, dive in, reading books, magazines. I didn't even have a camera yet, so I still didn't have any hands-on practical anything. Finally, after a few months, I think like my taxes come in or something, I bought, a Canon T3i kit, and then I could get out there and start practicing, learning, what I'd read in the magazines and the books and all that stuff. But I mean, like, it was just dive in head first. And even up until then, like, it was only so much that I could really retain with all the information until I could put hands on with the cameras and all that stuff. That was one of the biggest things for me, because, all right, so now I'm outdoors. I'm taking pictures and learning stuff, which is keeping my mind off all the other crap. And then it got me out more and more, and got me out doing other stuff. 8 years later, like, now it's a business for me. For me, that was huge, but, like, I had to go all in, and still am now. Like, it's 100% all in. And now I got, the business side of it. So even though a lot of the camera stuff I know, like, now it's all in reading, watching, learning the business side of stuff, because I don't know anything about that. So I'm learning on the fly. And that's what worked for me. And then my dogs, obviously, was a huge help with the PTSD stuff, so I recommend that for anyone too. But, whatever you got to get into, whether it's, working on vehicles, photography, video, painting, running, going to the gym. Like, the biggest part with the PTSD is, like, it like sucks the enjoyment out of everything that you used to enjoy. And so for me, like I said, with the photography, it was, now I found something I enjoy. I learned it pretty fast. I still enjoy it, and I'm learning stuff. Find that, like, yeah, the PTSD is going to suck the enjoyment out of a lot of stuff, but find something else to jump all in, if that's what it takes. If it takes group therapy, some people it works, some people aren't going to do it. Whatever, I get it. There's no judgment there, but what will work for you, like I did, and what won't, or what you're willing to do, and that's when you just got to go do it. Some people use the medications. If that's what it takes, do it. It's a long process. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's all baby steps. It's, one day at a time, small goals. All right, I did that. All right, now I did this. And then, even with photography, like, years later, like 3 years ago, I got hooked up with a veterans group that rides motocross. And me being a sports photographer, got hooked up with them, so I donate time and photos. Now all summer, I'm with a group of guys and some women that are, like-minded veterans, National Guard, active duty, prior service, old, young, but it's similar, group of people that have the same mindset. Because that's another hard adjustment, is when you get back to the civilian world. Most civilians do not have the mindset or, I don't even know how to put it into words, but they're not like us. They don't civilian. They're not going to understand, some of the terms and the language they use, and we cuss all the time, and all that stuff. So maybe you find if your thing's running, get into a group that runs. Every weekend they go for a 3, 5, 10K run, whatever, of veterans. There's the options are out there. There's so many of them, but you got to start the process. Like I did. It ain't gonna happen overnight. It might take years. Like I said in the previous video, we're never gonna be 100%, but it's a slow process to get better. And it's all baby steps. So thanks for watching. That's my video. Hopefully it helps somebody, anybody. Watch the video, like, subscribe, share, and hopefully this reaches somebody else.